and they'll have the project and contractor approvals that you guys submit. You don't expect the underwriter to collect it all and send it. It is going, it'll just be conditioned from the underwriter for project and builder approval, and they'll look for this renovation guide acknowledgement from the borrower. Then we condition you for the project and builder approval. It needs to go to this third party, Granite, at projects@graniteloan.com. Okay. These are attorneys in Denver, Colorado that have been working with Flagstar for decades, and they kind of review projects to make sure that it wasn't Uncle Joey building the house and underbidding all the categories just to make niece Susie happy, and now they're halfway into a project and it can't complete because he misinterpreted fees. We're kind of using this process to make sure that the costs are in line and reasonable for the marketplace. So what does a contractor approval and a project approval include? So in those forms, you'll find these, again, a project approval builder. Signed contractor contract, 3-page questionnaire for a builder. Well, I'm sorry, contractor questionnaire is 3-page right here. State of contractor's license, workers' comp insurance, or general liability insurance, depending if he has employees or contractors. His driver's license, a W-9 form. They do run a builder's credit. Just FYI. Builders are somewhat used to it, unfortunately. Signed construction contract for the project. So this is the PA between the buyer and the builder. The cost breakdown. A builder always breaks down every category: foundation, drywall, stone, whatever it is, all the way through, and every category gets assigned a number. And that's how we process the draw request, by using their cost breakdown. Oh, he's already asked for all the foundation money. That category's gone, or he didn't use it all. He could pull it over and line item transfer it to another category and spend more on maybe the chandeliers or something else. Set of plans will definitely need to be available, usually just for the appraiser's sake. We're going to need the appraisal before we can approve the project. You'll need building permits that have been granted so far, or the requests that are in process. Sometimes you need to notice of commencements in certain states before you get the permits. We are aware of that. And anything spent already by the borrower, money given to the builder, they should be going back and tracking every dollar they've spent so they can get credit for money towards their transaction. All right. So again, out of all that was in those forms, they're all kind of stacked in there with a checklist that looks just like this. This is the checklist that's at the back of the forms that you click. It'll open, it'll have a checklist and a fax number for Granite to send all those items, so that my underwriter who approved your deal based on the credit criteria can waive the project approval and contractor approval. Granite at this address takes about 5 days. So our most common problem is we get all these things in, and the contractor doesn't put in his project history. He doesn't have his insurance, doesn't have his driver's license, and you submit it anyway. We waited 5 whole days. It gets approved, and we say we need all this stuff. It's going to take another 5 days. So if you are sloppy at that, you can start to drag out your process. And keep in mind, a lot of these guys disappear with those forms, and they may disappear for a long time, and then suddenly they'll show up and they'll want action by tomorrow morning, even though they've been gone for 4 weeks with the documents. So be prepared to move fast once they've given it to you. So the experience from the builder's point of view will divvy a little bit depending on what their FICO score was like. If they're over the 720, I'm barely asking any questions. Satisfactory project review still happens, of course. They give me the cost breakdown. I look at it, make sure it makes sense. For me, no payee list. When they do their draws, for me is the draw request. They could just ask me for the money. I don't even ask for invoices, any kind of bills. if they got good credit. Before the next draw, they're just going to give me the traditional waivers and the titles updated endorsement. And then we're fine. 680 to 719, there's going to be a few more steps that I'm going to be a little closer to watch over the builder, but still pretty reasonable process. If they're on the 660, which is the minimum, to 679, I'm going to want everything up front. So when they ask for a draw, it's not coming, oh, I'll tell you what I did with that money later. It's, here's the receipts, here's the waivers from the contractor saying they've been paid, or as soon as they get paid, they'll waive their liens, and I'm going to do it all with training wheels for that builder who's got lower than our standard for credit. Okay? Any questions on that? And while we're on a builder, it needs to be a third-party builder. There's not, oh, well, I've watched a lot of HGTV, or that my uncle is a builder, my dad's a builder. Unfortunately, Dad, it can't be, it has to be a third-party builder. The borrower only pays interest only through the construction phase. The escrow is collected, if they're going to have escrows, at the very end of the completion, so that we can start to collect it in the full PITI that we get. And remember, we do offer a modification of rate if the rates are lower upon completion of the home with the borrower. But before we get to that point, we got to get to the construction closing. So you, again, are not the lender if you are normally a lender. I want to remind you that you need to step back and you need to let us do the disclosure on these. And so you're going to request a closing doc. I want you to know one key thing about a project. All right, if a project was going to have a builder is allowed to have a 10% upfront draw when he goes to close it. Okay, so before they even spend any money, I'll just plop 10% of $50,000 on the table on a one-time close, $100,000 if it happens to be a jumbo. But he has to account for that money just like the draws and trailing waiver requests, where they tell me they want 50 grand at closing. I'll give them 50 grand, but before they take their very next draw, they've got to account for that initial draw. But also important is you all along in this process need to be requesting from the closer from day one that they're going to want that draw. You can't just forget about it and not say a word. If you don't say a word, we assume there's no draw request and it'll close dry possibly. If there was a land contract there, we would pay that off. So any encumbered land, remember, I'd be a construction to perm if we go back to those terminologies, right? Pardon me. Allergies been getting me. Where do we go? If we come back to construction to perm. Construction means I don't own the land, I'm buying land and the improvements from the house, the builder. I base it all on the cost basis, like much more like a purchase. Construction to permanent, I'm basing it more like a rate return refi. Well, let's say since I own the land already, maybe if I was lucky, I paid cash. I don't care what he paid for it. I just care what it's going to translate in for the appraised value of when he puts the kind of home he's going to put on the land. It could have bought it yesterday, and I'm still going to give him value. If he bought it or inherited it from mom for nothing, great. He doesn't have to use the acquisition cost. He gets to use the appraised value. So it can be very key. But let's say I do own the land, but I own a land contract, or I want you guys to know about a local Michigan group here. I've got Greenstone Farm Credit that actually does 30-year fixed land loans. So if somebody wants to buy a land, I just want to be clear that it needs to be a rural feel. It's not as like required for this land loan to be truly USD eligible, but like I live in Commerce Township, Michigan. Let me give you an example. West Bloomfield's the next town east of me, and then you get into the suburbs. It's all the suburbs of Metro Detroit. But I'm out in an area where there's a state park running up my way. There's a Huron River running through here, and it's all green around there. The lenders like Kyle at Greenstone dials that up on a Google map, and if there's more green than gray, it's probably going to be justified as rural. If there's more gray and streets and buildings than there is greenery, you're probably going to be told I can't do the land loan, and they need to go secure a land contract with the land seller, or pay cash, or use an equity line for their existing home. You know the drill. You're in financing, you get them all somewhat. But I wanted you to know that number. Did anyone? I know you're all on mute, but if you want, let's go make sure that we see Kyle's number here. So anybody that needs a land loan, Kyle Wright, 517-676-1086.